So yeah, I'm Peter, and I'm going to talk about my diet and how I derived it from data. I gave a talk in January, so there's some background on me, deeper on that. But a little more background. I'm a citizen of 3 countries, the most recent of which is the United States. I actually lived in the United States for 20 years before I even thought it was useful to become a citizen. And that was 2008. And that was the year that I came to the realization, or at least my own personal belief, that America is a cultural vacuum. It's a glorious void. And, but of course, nature abhors all vacuums, so it needs to fill it with something. And one of the things that we fill our cultural void in America with is ourselves, our own choices. And everything is fair game, it seems, culturally in America. So, I'm 50, and I remember a time where men and women had much more circumscribed roles, in the world, and I grew up in that world. And I've been disabused of it, and I like it. And it's like, in today's day and age, men and women, I don't even know what you can't do anymore. There's women field goal kickers trying out for the NFL now. This is a fantastic time. Child rearing, there's many different ways people are rearing children. Just in this valley and in America, it seems like we're going through a social experiment right now, for better or for worse. And then there's food, which is the topic of this. And then the cultural void has been filled by corporations, of course, and they've made us all fat and sick, and that has led to the phenomenon of diets. And so these are 5 diets, popular ones. This is the tip of an iceberg. There are hundreds of diets in America. And some of you live in other countries, or like me, you spend most of your life out in other countries. You don't have that in other countries. This is a clear sign of a cultural void. Well, to me, the interesting thing about diet is how it is approached. Is the diet dogma? Is it the final say in what I eat or don't eat? To me, it's just a suggestion. Any of the diets, they're just a suggestion. My dietary Bible is my body, and it's the sole source of truth about my body and my health. And the scripture of that Bible is written by my data, which I take periodically. So this is my dietary program. Step 1, I read critically. I try to get underneath studies, understand their motivation, get underneath speakers, figure it out. If I see something that piques my interest about food or a drink, step 2, I'll try it out. A lot of people stop there. What I do is step 3 is I listen to my body, see how it reacted to the food, and step 4, I listen to my data. Listening to my body, what that means is, for me anyway, some foods or drinks will increase my energy, some will decrease my energy. I'm normally a pretty high energy guy, so things that modulate that are of interest to me. I'm a person who doesn't get headaches, so once in a while I'll get like a whisper of a headache just pass through, and whenever that happens, I'll ask myself, what did I eat in the last 24 hours? Because usually it'll be something that I ate. And then, bowel disruption is definitely a symptom of mine when I'm not eating well. Listening to my data, so, like most people here, or some people, you have maybe a scale, and that's tracking my weight, over the top chart there. Basis watch. Basis has a long way to go to figure out how to make it useful. What this is calorie expenditure over the last 2 weeks, 24-hour period in 1-hour blocks. Pretty graph, I don't know what the hell to do with it. Zio, a little more interesting, quality of sleep monthly over the last year. Pretty steady, I'm around 80. So anyway, so what has my body and my data told me? Well, one thing that it's told me is, without a doubt, avoid manufactured food. I once went to a talk where someone said, here's a diet, eat nothing that comes with an ingredients label. And that pretty much describes how I eat. My body and the data would emphatically agree with that statement, but my body and data actually led to some fine print, which is I do eat some food that comes with an ingredients label, but no more than 3 ingredients, and the ingredients are recognizable food. Like, for example, this bag of roasted, salted sunflower seeds. I'm at the tail end of a detox program where I'm allowed to eat these, and I've been scarfing these, and they're not messing my data. So how do you eat without an ingredients label? How do you buy food like that? You shop the perimeter of the grocery store, and you avoid the middle aisles like the plague. But with any broad rule, there's always exceptions. We just hit one, that's the fine print. And another exception of things you'll find in the middle aisle are something I call magic fats. So, veggies and fruit, the common thing. Body and Data love it. Those are our seedlings that I'll be harvesting in the summer for my lunch. These are our pear blossoms that we'll be harvesting in September for dessert for lunch. We have 40 chickens. I gather about 24 eggs every morning. I take 2 of them, the warmest ones that have been just laid within the last hour, and I drink it. And my Body and Data love eggs. I actually am the unlipitor man. My cholesterol is a bit too low. I'm trying to raise it. So the last 6 months I've been doing this. I'm curious to see if my blood test data will bring my cholesterol back up into the normal range. As I mentioned, there are certain magic fats. Each one of these is a story worth a 7-minute talk on its own. How I stumbled onto them and where I find them and what the theory is and what it does to the data. But the data loves these fats, and I take them every day. Bacon and sausage, interestingly enough, for the longest time, my data and my body had no problem with them until I bought an HbA1c monitor, and that said otherwise. It said, do not eat those things. Fruit juice, so everybody knows you shouldn't drink fruit juice. Well, this juice here is from our own apples, from our apple orchards, put into a juicer with nothing added. I mean, this is just pure, apple juice. My weight and waist data went through the roof drinking this over 2 days. Coffee in the fall. Zio said I probably shouldn't drink coffee. I'm retesting that as we speak. Einkorn bread. This is an interesting one. The data said it was okay. My body said otherwise. I'm going to retest that in the summertime because I really like einkorn bread. But I want to see if I can eat it with a combination of stuff. In conclusion, my life is an experiment. I always have open questions that I'm tackling. One of the questions I have, 2 Sundays ago, I saw a $1.69 on the scale. I haven't seen that since the 11th grade. And I started thinking that, I'm 50 and maybe I'm becoming suboptimal in terms of being this skinny. The next thing is to detox or not to detox. And the last is to run or not to run. Questions?
Can you say a little bit more about what you mean when your body doesn't like something? What data you're looking at to know that?
Yeah. So the talk I gave two months ago, it was really interesting. I used to get like 2 and 3 pound jumps in my weight data, and my waist would go maybe a quarter of an inch if I would eat something I shouldn't eat, and my body's not digesting it well. But once I got down to this weight I'm at now, I now get 8 pound jumps in a single day. So it's unmistakable. Unmistakable. My blood glucose that I take on Sundays will shoot up 10 points if I'm eating things I shouldn't be. So those are the data markers.
And so your habits then are such that you only change one thing at a time, like you're doing everything identically except you're going to have juice now.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a certain way of eating. I'm now testing coffee. I mean, actually, I'm doing a detox. Once the detox ends, I'll retest the coffee. I'm not going to test coffee. You're not supposed to have coffee on the detox anyway. But I do one thing at a time. You're absolutely right, because I don't want to have noise in the data. I want to have steady, change one variable, see what happens. And so I won't do, for example, einkorn bread and coffee at the same time.
Do you have a particular technique to wean yourself off of things that are not good for you that you crave?
Yeah, one of my talks I'd like to give one day, I don't know if people know this Enneagram theory of personality, but I think it's kind of interesting. With the Enneagram of skinniness, it's kind of like we all have these temperaments, and so whenever anybody's over 40 and they're skinny, they have a story, like in America. I mean, you didn't just end up that way. You could be that way the rest of the world, but you're not in America. You were doing something, right? And so what I found really interesting was when I talked to people of different temperaments, and I talked to an Enneagram 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 2, who's skinny over 40, what's interesting is that their patterns are very different. So I will just say to you that my particular temperament works really well with a bright line. If there's a bright line and I can have all I can eat on this side and I have none I can eat on that side, I do very, very well. Other people don't do that well. They need to have just a little bit of the sweet, just a little. They can control themselves. I have one little piece of a chocolate, I'll eat 3 chocolate bars. So I don't have any. That's how I do it.
I have the same question.
The same one up there?
Have you been monitoring yourself or doing these things for a long time, or is this more of an older in your age? I only say that because I mean, I'm only 23, but I've done like phases where I've completely changed my diet, but I haven't. My body weight has been like a 4-pound flux for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Nothing can change it.
Yeah. No, when I was your age, I mean, I was trying to put on weight. I mean, I was like scarfing 3 pizzas at a time, and I just so I wasn't measuring weight back then, only to say, God, am I still only 175 pounds? I need to put on muscle, right? So, but back then I was testing performance. I was an athlete. I mean, I like that chart before, the athlete warrior, whatever. Like, yeah, that's what I was as a young man. It's not until I'm 50 now, and I've been doing this now, this kind of data recording for 5 or 6 years. And just kind of stumbled onto it. I actually started doing it because one of the magic fasts I said was Ogbono, and I'd read some stuff, and I do a talk on it one time. But I wanted to start. I had an Excel sheet, and I started recording data from it, and had remarkable results with it. And so that got me hooked on doing data. But at your age, no. I mean, it's just you're not. You're 24 for Christ's sake. Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about flax seeds? How you eat flax seeds?
Yeah, flax seeds. I put them, grind them into my oatmeal. Now during this detox, I have a morning smoothie with a Vitamix. I just put them in the Vitamix. I have a yogurt breakfast normally, and I'll grind them and put them into that. I'll grind them, put them into my noonday salad. So yeah, everywhere I can get flax seeds, I throw them in the diet.
Have you ever had, as you're measuring these different metrics, a certain food make, say, a couple of metrics go bad, a couple of them go good, or get better, and then how do you decide if that's a good or bad food?
So some of the data will be good.
Sounds like you're doing weight, glucose, sleep.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you might eat something and it's great for the sleep.
Oh.
What's
Yeah.
your process for?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because the coffee seemed to you kind of get me, drop in some body fat, but then kind of with the sleep data, not so good. So, and I do like coffee. I hadn't drank it for 49 years. I read a bunch of studies. Who chooses their food this way? I didn't drink any coffee for 49 years. I read some studies. I didn't think the coffee industry was paying for them or anything. It just seemed like it probably worked. So I started drinking coffee, and I found that I like it, right? So, and then the sleep data. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, what I do is I want to make sure I want them all to line up, and if anybody is complaining of the metrics, I won't have it.
So I just want to first of all clarify. Did you quit drinking coffee when you were 1? You said you haven't drank coffee for 49 years?
Well, I was 49 when I started drinking coffee, so I've been drinking coffee for a year.
Okay. My actual question was, now that you've been doing quite a bit of tracking and lifestyle design for a fair amount of time, how have you refined it in terms of the amount of time it takes you to do the smoothies and the flaxseed, and what's the time commitment for you at this point?
No friggin' time. I mean, it's like. So my wife's not the most organized person with the pantries and everything, but I have a section of the pantry. The magic fats are all lined up, and then the nuts are all lined up. And I'm just a machine. I'm not even thinking anymore. I get up in the morning and I take 5 mason jars in my hand. It doesn't take time.
Do you have what you do online, where other people, if they wanted to sort of try what you're doing in terms of eating and lifestyle, could see it?
That'd be an interesting talk to say how do you actually do it.
How do you
what I love about the summertime is I go to the kitchen, I get a bowl, I walk outside, and I just fill it. I come back in, I cut it up, put some olive oil on it, and that's my lunch, right? I mean, like, to eat that way, it's just amazing.
Are you able to eat out at restaurants, or what do you do?
Very difficult. Ask my partner. He's always wanted to go to restaurants. I want to go to Whole Foods. Like,
I will say
Do
this.
you want to answer that one, Michael?
The best compromise I've come up with is, because I like to eat healthy too, is farm to table restaurant.
farm to table is good. Yeah.
So he loves that.
That's
where we
works.
have our other business meetings,
Maybe last
farm to
question.
table restaurants.
Yeah. So, do you want to answer the last question?
Have you always enjoyed the taste of natural foods?
That's a great question. Taste I found is malleable, for me anyway, maybe not for anybody else, but like what I find is the less I eat of processed foods, the less I eat of sugar, the sweeter an apple tastes. The more I can taste a vegetable and all that. So my palate actually will adapt and like it even better. I think I've always liked sort of vegetables and stuff, but not near as much as I like them now.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Peter.
you.
It's been just great.